because it's sort of a elite crowd. How about that?
I don't think I've ever been part of an elite crowd. I saw Ray pull up out there a little bit ago, but don't see him here. Gary.
Yeah.
I suppose he'll be in. I asked 2 friends because I saw that in the note,
Yeah.
but I asked them so late that one is a good excuse because they have a daughter and a granddaughter in town.
Ah,
The other one I didn't read the excuse, didn't have time.
so
So we
Mike,
might be joined eventually.
I'm recording. You do.
Do you all know Mike, of course?
I have not met him before.
Oh.
Please.
Well, he filmed the Otter presentation at the college. And,
Speaking of,
oh,
not,
here's Ray.
not the
I mean, not, yeah, Ray.
Not
Not to be confused.
We thought
An
you
otter.
were an otter.
I don't know, he kind of looks like one.
nice flurry, is the heavy pelt. Keep you warm. So, yeah, this is going to be more of a discussion group rather than a presentation. But one of the things that I would really like to do is to get some other voices into deciding what do we want to do, how can we do it. This was something sort of threw up at the end of the last meeting. And if you're like me, it's like, oh, yeah, wonder what it was. I didn't do it. So did anybody try this? Take a look at that. What would you write yours 25 years from now? Of course,
Oh,
years ago.
that's funny because my granddaughters just gave me a book about, they want to know all about my life. I have a fantastic life. But okay, that's cool.
So, but it's just a thought. It's going to be really interesting because if you would have done that last year, it probably would have been pretty dramatically different from what it is this year. Which, by the way, my shirt being our solution to climate change democracy, which is one of the discussions that we've sort of had in our other group about how is democracy and climate change and all going to survive the changing climate and the political climate and all that. So anyway, that was just a thought. You might want to do it. So what I had is, as much as an agenda, it's greeting and seating, so we're all here, review of Louisa's list of climate groups. And that sort of ties into a little bit other stuff. And then critical actions to address climate change. What are the things that we can do, that we physically, emotionally, and with enough time and everything else, what can we actually do? And then a focus, what should be a focus of our upcoming meetings? We've got about the same core group with occasionally other people adding in, but is this kind of a discussion going to be maybe focused on individual topics, going to be what people would like, or specific presentations? I know that Les gave a talk about climate footprint or carbon footprint, which apparently was well received. I'm going to be giving a talk on climate and the oceans to the Climate Reality Project up in Portland, all by Zoom, and probably do a dry run. I'm happy to do a dry run here. I'm going to give it also to Socan sometime in the fall. I'm sort of a fill-in when they need somebody. So,
What was the subject again?
mine?
Yeah, repeat yours.
It's going to be on ocean effects from the excess carbon dioxide, excess greenhouse gases. I say that because it's carbon dioxide dissolving in the ocean that causes acidification, and so it's more focused, especially on fossil fuels. What do you think? Should we try to get some presentations, and if so, what would you like to hear?
Wow.
And there's always a chance of getting them for a Sunday talk show afterwards. Just to,
Believe me, we had Kathleen last Sunday that was great.
so.
Absolutely great.
That's because I'm a talker.
But you have a lot to say,
I do,
so.
all important too.
Yeah.
Well, I like the idea of ocean acidification because it's right here where we live.
Yeah.
And that's one topic.
And it may also be an avenue, that topic specifically can be an avenue perhaps to reach people who are kind of culturally inclined MAGA, but like fish.
Yeah.
And like to fish, to say, hey, you know what's coming is not going to be like what came before.
And it's a good sort of introduction because I gave a presentation pre-COVID in this room for the Oregon South Coast Fishermen's Association. Fairly substantial number of people were wearing red MAGA hats, and yet, and I was told, don't say climate. So I got through almost the entire presentation without saying climate, but I had to say it at the last slide. But the whole time they're going, yeah, things are getting dear. You know, it is getting warmer. It is that sort of stuff. So couching it in the right way and then advertising it to get people to come and listen to some of these talks is what we need to figure out. And how do we do that? Or do we want to do that?
I think yes. I mean, the more people hear this, the better chance we're going to have, at least in this town, of, changing some minds, making a difference,
Right.
taking some action.
I think people aren't always prepared to just start into a discussion together.
Nope.
So having information to sort of share and then reflect is a good way to get people to have conversations.
Right. I agree.
So I'm not sure what other topics that you all would talk about.
One of my favorite methods to get people talking and sharing is to break out into groups. I learned this through the Forward Leadership Foundation back in the day, because when you're with a smaller group of people, you're more inclined to share, there's more time to share, and then the idea is the table shares on a particular topic, and then one person from that table reports out. So you have, 30 minutes of sharing by table, and then you come back together and say you've got 5 tables, then 5 different people report out on what you've discussed.
Right.
And somebody takes notes and somebody facilitates. Those are my favorite kinds of meetings because it feels like you're getting something done. It doesn't feel like you're being talked at. It feels like you're participating.
Right.
But it also isn't as intimidating as a big giant group, because there's always going to be people like me who dominate the conversation, even without meaning to. And that also helps alleviate the sort of person that may want to just come and disrupt things. We need, in my opinion, other viewpoints. We need that kind of cross communication, but you can control it better with breakout groups and also with some sort of group norms, as we call them. You start out at the beginning, you say these are the rules. You don't interrupt somebody, you don't call names, you don't whatever. Stay on point. Talk about the issue, not the person. Blah blah blah.
Right.
Another dimension of that could be, and I've experienced this in the last few years, having a person like Bill talking to a small group. It could be just 2 and 3 people, and you talking to a small group about food and source of good food locally and why we want to do that.
And then rotate the speakers.
Yeah, and there could be a third person. I'm not sure what that topic could be. Maybe you have something in mind, but then the people rotate to the speaker.
Yeah. We did that in a Zoom meeting for third act, where we rotated the speakers amongst the breakout groups in Zoom.
Yeah, they
and
do that.
That works really well because the group stays together and they get to know each other and they bond with each other. But everyone gets to hear from the different perspectives and gets to hear the different information.
Are you going to continue not to use the term climate?
I'm wearing it. Yes, I am going to say climate.
I think we don't have to be quite as afraid of that word now. You said you did this pre-COVID.
Yeah.
There's a lot in my opinion, a lot less pushback on the word climate and a lot more pushback on either it's too expensive or it's not technologically feasible, or I'm just one person, how in the world am I going to change, So, but I don't think climate is as touchy a word, except to our president, which don't record that.
Yeah,
I don't want that out there on the ether.
There are though, and I wouldn't know like how to estimate what fraction of the local people have these opinions, or
sure.
what fraction of those people might show up to a meeting like this. But there's certainly a fraction of people who will be happy to go on about, yeah, the climate's getting messed up, and it is absolutely a problem, and we need to stop the chemtrails from getting sprayed, and we need to stop the space lasers, because, it's the lizard people, democratic, child molesters that are doing all this.
Or it's an act of God, and God wants to have the rapture.
Right.
And so if you're in the right group, you're going to be, you're just excited. Well, yeah, take it all to hell. It doesn't really matter. It's like, well, that's okay if you're in the right group, I guess, and it actually happens. Hasn't yet so far, but so.
I think they're sorely mistaken.
I do everything I can, but I kind of feel like it's pissing into the wind, and there's 300 million people, and even if half of us did recycling and careful about fuel use,
Yeah.
it still doesn't seem like it would do much of anything.
And what's the antidote that?
Your T-shirt is, I think, the direction we should go.
Yes.
People don't understand civics. People don't understand what the voting process is all about. People don't even understand how our elected officials get elected. People don't understand what Congress does,
I'm one
how
of
they
those
pass
people.
bills. And me too. Me too.
Yeah.
And I mean, every nonpartisan or every nonprofit group in town, not every, but Indivisible, League of Women Voters, Third Act, we've all been talking about how do we get people engaged
Yeah.
in the voting, in democracy. Because without democracy, it doesn't matter what we try to do for the climate, it's not going to be enough, and it's just going to keep, that train's just going to keep rolling.
Of the various public opinions that are out there, if you start at the conversation about climate change, whether people embrace the whole idea of climate catastrophes, you were just saying it's like pissing in the wind, but it's a hard place to start.
Yeah.
And so I listened to and attended via YouTube talk by Socan last week in Medford. And it was an anthropologist who, the title of his talk, do you mind if I go into this now?
Keep
It kind
going.
of fits.
Yeah.
How climate science divides us was the name of his talk. And he lives in Ashland part-time in the summer, lives in Washington, D.C., has worked for the Department of Interior. As an anthropologist, he's worked with groups probably in a similar way that Bill has in terms of environmental impact statements when they're trying to decide if they're going to do an oil and gas exploration here and what does it do to the local community, to the tribal community. And so he was emphasizing the idea that if you get people together and talk about what their goals are, what do they want to see happen in this area, and keep away from the language of climate altogether, they'll talk about clean air, clean water, and saving energy, cost analysis of their current energy systems and what can they do to change things. And then he brought up Morristown, Minnesota, and he started describing what they had done, all about I'll just read. A town that did things right, he said. They approached energy conservation not as for environmental reasons, but for economic benefits, like cost saving and energy efficiency. They adopted solar panels, which provided shade for grazing cows. It's an agricultural community. They had a county-wide compost operation, which handled food waste and egg waste in a really holistic way. I know we've talked a bit about that. They started using electric buses in their school district for transportation. The public library used geothermal heating, and the liquor store had rooftop solar panels put on. The city government, facing a tight budget and high electricity bills, partnered with the University of Minnesota to convert old lighting to modern LEDs, saving $80,000 annually. The city manager said, we never made it about climate. We did it because it made sense. So it just seems like language, he's an anthropologist, so he was saying, language that you use can really help unite instead of divide.
Sure, and it's hard to argue against saving money. I mean,
Yeah.
Everybody in this town, just about, would prefer to save a couple of bucks. And so you're right, if we approach this from that perspective, what do people need, and then go about helping them see how they can get it, maybe that's the direction. But this group is Southern Oregon Climate Action Now, so I don't know if this group, where this group really wants to settle. And this is just a satellite group, right, of the main group in Medford?
Yeah, we're an
So I don't know how
affiliate
much
of some
leeway
kind.
you have, or we have.
We're 90 miles away, 2 hours away.
9 levels of group.
It is different. This is a different approach than the collective approach of getting people to understand, our Constitution and our power, the power of the three forms of the legislative,
Branches, yeah.
judicial, and the executive. So there, I guess we're talking about sort of a floating project out here that might begin to tackle some of this. Talking about adaptation and resiliency to climate catastrophe. And I know there was a really active group here that was talking about getting ready for the Cascadia subduction, right?
That was probably an emergency services type.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember something like that.
But some of the things they talk about kind of are in the realm of getting the town to act together on something that is a common goal.
So how many people do we need to be, it seems like at least this many times 3 or 4 to be able to start doing any of these brainstorming or talks and groups and things like that? How do we get to the right people that do want to participate? I mean, connect with the faith groups, or connect with indivisibles, connect with progressives, or there are a variety of different groups.
Well, one tactic might be, wow, we really want to tackle this food waste and agricultural waste. And then who's the technical expert on that? Who knows about that? So, you're reaching out to an expert in a field. If you're going to talk about community solar project, a small one, you'd find somebody who does community solar.
Well, the example of the city in Minnesota, they, from what I recall, they switched to LEDs because they had a tight budget. They said, we can save a bunch of money. So it was a financial one. And switching, of course, a lot of these things were predicated on having the subsidies or tax breaks and things like that.
Yeah.
Now the question is, are there any programs, first off, are there things that Brookings or Curry County would see as a way of saving money? Or do we have functional city council or county commissioners to even begin those discussions?
Yeah, I think the city manager just did something with electric vehicles. I'd read.
You're in
Yeah,
Brookings?
yeah,
I live in the county, so I don't hardly
yeah.
hear about those things.
Is it possible to build on that?
Yeah, and he's
You said he did something, what do you mean? Did he just proposed at a city council meeting?
they bought something that was, and I can't remember if it was for the fire department or somebody who needed.
Yeah, I think it
New-
was fire.
Was it fire? Yeah. And he's new in town, so might have a fresh
I'm
eye.
sorry, what was his name again?
Tim Rundell,
Yeah.
Rundel.
The people at KCIW have been talking about, he's kind of in favor of stuff like that, not like, I guess, and I'm again, California, but pay attention as much as I can up here, but who was Lori, I believe, was telling us, Ray, about how he's open to,
Everything I've heard from him,
Okay.
about him has been good.
which is a positive, that's how I would look at it.
What's his role? He's,
He's
City
city
manager.
manager.
He's the
wow.
new city manager. He's been there about a year, about a year. Plans to retire here. I went to their meet and greet way back when and chatted with him for a minute or two.
So that's one approach, is to kind of identify key stakeholders in areas that we might consider, and then measuring the interest of this group, which one do we want to tackle?
Right. So I guess continuing with the political side of it, the democracy side, but on a local basis, would the new city manager, or I guess would he be a person to invite to talk about, and what would we talk about, what he's doing?
Yes. Yeah.
To invite
He's
here.
also
Yeah.
a filmmaker, by the way. And in Oklahoma, he did a thing called a film about the people who only had their agricultural equipment, lawnmowers, tractors and whatnot to ride to get to their appointments.
Oh, my
and whatnot.
gosh.
Oh, that would probably
A
be
short
the
film
Venus.
about that.
Wow.
That was brilliant, that we showed at the festival last year.
And
So he's a good guy.
that's just keep hearing what we need to be doing is telling stories, and as storytellers to be able to aim it at the people so they understand it, so it resonates with them. Thank you. That would seem to be a very good idea.
Well, so, and I'm going to regret jumping in here because I don't have a lot of time to put to this. On the other hand, it's really difficult not to put time towards something like this. So if we, I'm kind of spitballing here. If we decided, for instance, that we were going to do a monthly, call it a town hall, and that every month there was going to be some topic that was maybe not directly related to climate change, but on a fringe, or things we knew would resonate with people in this town that we could tackle right away. Say we come up with a calendar and I love to organize this kind of thing. So say we come up with a calendar of 6 months or a year's worth of monthly town halls. They're not that hard to put together. You need a person to find speakers. You need a person to facilitate. You need a person to record or take notes. You need a space. You need somebody to send out an email. You need to be collecting email addresses. You need someone putting it out on Facebook. None of that's super hard, but it's something it's a commitment.
Yeah.
But if we approach it that way, then say the first month we could invite the city manager and say, hey, come down and talk to us about, how you perceive the city. What's the 5-year plan for the city? Talk a little bit about that. Tell us about this electric fire truck you just bought, or something. And then the next month we could invite, I got Michael Neighbors out at Umbrella Farms who wants to do composting for the town.
Oh.
Invite him here to talk about his vision about how his place can be that place. And then the next month you invite, my friend Terry Alloway, who's a permaculture expert, to talk about, invite Bill to talk about ocean stuff, and invite somebody to talk about solar panels. I'm just spitballing, but my point is, it doesn't take a giant group to set something like that up. It does take commitment.
Right.
Regular commitment.
What I hear you describing is the Friends of Curry Campus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what we do.
Yeah, exactly.
We just haven't focused on this topic.
And the only
but
problem
we
with
could.
the Curry campus is it's out of town.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
not a big deal in my mind because you're a mile away from me. But we could also maybe incorporate Friends of Curry Campus, League of Women Voters who would like to be doing civics work, and there's just not enough people willing to step up and do it.
Yeah.
Louise is part of League. There's also Indivisible. They're all out of Port Orford now. Lori Stoddard started the one here in town, and then you had to give it up like about 10 years later because she just had no help.
Right.
But there are people here in town who were involved in the first Indivisible. So, Indivisible and Friends of Curry and League of Women and the library either move them place to place or put some other group in charge of a different month. I don't know. I'm just trying to, it's doable. It's my whole point. It's all doable.
Well, I think tomorrow.
And it can't hurt.
At our little studio get-together, I'm gonna ask Lori or somebody that has better contact with Tim Rundle to invite him to one of these. We're talking about inviting him here.
I would think so.
Do we want to make these public? As in promote them to the general public? Are we worried about the people that Les is correct about that will come and try to disrupt things?
But I think
Can
we need
handle
to,
that?
I think we maybe could have a conversation with him so we become familiar.
Is
Okay.
Tim worried about that? It becomes also the question.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You had a list up there of all the stakeholders before with links.
Oh, that was a series of,
What you said was right, and if that monthly town hall was an entire group of organizations throwing, so each group has got their list served to invite, and you put them all together, and then one group's in charge of one of the facets that you were speaking to, another group's in charge of another facet. Maybe that might be a way to organize that in a year-long of town hall meetings.
Because, Indivisible and the Dems are trying to organize the 50-51 rallies. It's all on them. And so this last one, the only reason it wasn't better attended, I believe, is because since it's all on them, one person missed getting it on Facebook in a timely manner. That's probably, I'm sure they're unhappy about that, but if there were more of us and we were all working towards the same goal, and we all had our own pieces of the things, like they could keep doing the rallies, but we would support them, I don't know, with Facebook posts or emails or whatever. And, Southern Oregon Climate Action Now, I know you're trying to rebuild, and it's a perfect time to rebuild, so they could help us by, their own marketing and
Right.
promotion and boots on the ground and volunteers but we'd all have to first come together, I think,
Right.
and create some sort of central plan.
So we'd have to introduce this concept to maybe just a handful of groups, the ones that
Yeah.
you've mentioned, the League, Friends of Curry
Indivisible.
Campus.
I wouldn't
Indivisible.
necessarily go to the Dems just because we don't want this becoming political.
and that's the real question. Are there any conservative groups here that are not MAGA groups?
Probably, but I don't know who they are.
Yeah, that's,
That's where I was thinking maybe Tim Rundle has an idea about that.
Well, he
His own
certainly,
constituents.
yeah, he certainly walks a line probably
Sure.
and knows the players and,
Yeah,
yeah.
and kind of walking the line and trying to listen to both sides without getting nuts, like I see all these town halls get
yeah.
right away. But, so right now, should I not put anything out to ask Tim Rundle to possibly be here?
I don't know, what do you
I think
think?
it's a good idea to have him here, just to see if it resonates with him and if he's,
Okay, well,
because we gotta start somewhere, right?
Correct.
And we can't tackle the world's problems. You made a good point Sunday about it feels as though it's impossible to tackle this problem. It's just gonna keep getting worse. But I think I think we still need to try to do what we can do, what's in front of us.
And I
what's
think
ours
one of
to do.
the reasons for that is sanity. It's just that an effort to maintain some sanity, to feel like you're doing something. And it's kind of like swimming upstream against a tsunami, true, but it's at least better to keep swimming than give up.
And we could just sort of frame this as a listening session, as a learning session, and until we get to the point where we feel like, oh, there's enough catalyst for action.
Right.
And-
And that's where, like I said, you were set up to film a lecture and this and that and the other, and this is nothing like that. And yet, it's a matter of progressing to something that can be recorded when you're prepared for that sort of thing. So then we can get it on KCIW, or it can get it on a website, and so that people will be able to see it and get this one aspect of a story out there.
I was thinking of one sort of thread that I just began to thread was, the national legislation now that's trying to be introduced to stop hedge fund managers from buying housing in communities.
Oh.
And I was thinking, wow, that's our big problem here, is people, companies buying up properties and there's no housing.
But that's nationwide too.
Yeah.
The hedge fund managers are the ones who bought all the small media outlets, all of the newspapers, and dismantled them.
Yeah.
Hedge funds are where the billionaires put their money to affect political change, and we're not even dealing with it mentally, let alone, the question is, can we afford to tackle climate change? Can you afford not to drink clean water?
Yeah.
Can you, it's the exact opposite question, and for 50 years running now, we're still taking the okey-doke and not changing the subject.
Yeah,
up on it.
and I think it can become a real grassroots issue that people can oh yeah, I know.
I think it
right?
already is,
Yeah.
but we don't own the media, so we don't see it reflected in the media, largely.
Yeah, that,
Right.
that bothers me a lot. I keep thinking, in towns I've lived in that were rural, at the pizza joint, there was a little flyer that had all the news weekly. That was the way people. There was also a town newspaper, but sort of they were both equally important for information.
Yeah.
And
And real quick, back to Tim Rundle, what Karen, you were talking about earlier about trying to get the economics of how, like, for example, we could say, how could the city of Brookings be better economically with changes that they could make for climate change? Here again, you're going to throw the climate, maybe use a
Well-
different word, I don't know.
You've all seen this,
Yes.
and it's transportation, food, water, energy, reduce, reuse, recycle. All of those are how to save money. I put it together because I've been told that I'm highly frugal, which is the nicest way to put it. So,
In this town, that's the thing, how many tax initiatives have failed?
yeah,
Because no one wants to pay more in taxes.
right.
Money's important in this town. It's a retirement community, and it's gonna get even more so.
Yes, it will.
As the SNAP benefits go away, and as Medicaid starts getting cut, and then Medicare is probably right behind it, and Social Security is gonna get privatized, and every time something like that comes down the pike, the people in our town are like, what do I do? Well, if they have a place to focus their energy and a sense that they can make a difference here in their home,
Yeah,
they're more than likely to join the bandwagon. And not all of them, I realize.
right.
Enough of them. And, it's funny because we live in a blue state. And so it feels sometimes like, why are we even bothering? Our county doesn't matter to the rest of the state. It never has.
Yeah.
It won't affect our, senators and congressmen, blah, blah, blah. But dang it, if we can turn this county blue, I would love to see that.
well, there's a large amount of.
Or at least purple.
Yeah.
Purple would be lovely. It doesn't have to be blue. Purple's a good color.
We can get to purple. There's a lot of unaffiliated people here. There's a lot of
Yeah.
registered people that don't vote.
Yeah.
So
We've
could
got, humanity has gotten stuck on, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be monopolizing, but we've gotten stuck on this hamster wheel of thinking that we can never make change, we cannot affect change, that we're one person and that nothing we do is going to matter. And so we go about our business and we watch TV 4 hours a night. I'm talking about myself. I know better too. We eat fast foods. You saw what I was eating when I walked in here. Why? Because it's easy, because it's cheap, because I'm lazy, because I don't, because I don't want to think about how awful it's really getting out there and how awful it's gonna get out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so if I had a way to, if my energy can be focused on things that really make a difference, and we can make a difference in this town, I don't pretend for an instant I can change the way the world is going, or the country, or the state, but I can certainly change what's going on here in this town.
And that's why I think that if we can find out the issues, the economic issues, even if it's a small amount, if you can save 10% on your energy bill or whatever, or you're not having to have an increase in your water bill, or then that's great from a climate standpoint, because that's that much less energy we have to buy. And so, but leave that last little part off. And if it's most of the things, if we're saving money, chances are it's going to be because we're not spending as much that's going to go into the pockets of the private equity people, the big business, the data centers, and all that sort of stuff. So it seems that couching it in the right way, not saying climate, it's like, well, we can talk about all the things related to that. And it's still trying to pull people together for the common good.
And make it interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Back to the city manager, I think Tim Rundle, is that his name? I don't know him. But, getting him in here with a small, non-threatening group that's on, say, the other side of things.
Perfect.
And I think the city council has obviously undergone some transformation. They hired him. That says something right there.
Big time.
So that makes a statement. It's not the Heavenskog group anymore, but I don't know them either. But, to get him in here, the sooner the better, and say, there are some rational folks here, a small group like this maybe, some rational folks here who have something to say, and they're not right-wing.
Right.
So I'm sure he's getting plenty of that, but...
And they're not left-wing.
And they're not left-wing. Very
So,
good,
Good
yeah.
point.
So
No.
if we could get him in here, maybe just,
And he probably has an inside track to what the kind of people you're talking about.
yeah.
Exactly, 'cause dealing with the city, being the manager.
But
I think it would be kind of cool. And like you said, small, I mean, again, we don't want it to turn into one of the crazy town halls,
Right.
that's for sure.
Well, we've all been to some of these crazy meetings, and I'm sure he has by now, too.
Probably.
But to see that there's another side to things, and there are people here, mainly coming from California, I guess, but
Wait a minute, now I'm from Wyoming.
Montana, come on.
There you go.
that shows.
Very good stuff.
And the entire audience speaks out. That's great.
anyway, I think
I-
getting him in here, he sounds like a reasonable person.
Yeah.
We had a very small neighborhood issue. Karen talked to him
Oh.
and got he
On the
took care of
phone.
it personally, and
Wow.
it was refreshing. Yeah.
Well, like I said, tomorrow I will definitely put out to the people that I think can contact Tim.
I think you guys would be the ones to invite him here, though. Should
Yep.
more be the, and my guess is he'd listen to you, at least.
Well, one of the themes that, again, I've been trying to push is, one is stories, another is getting to understand what other people's perspectives are. And trying to remember, is Charles that used to manage Freddy's and is now
Henry Johnson?
Henry. Yeah, I've been trying to get
I'll be
him.
having lunch with him tomorrow. so-
You will.
Well, with him and Nick Rail, it's about PPA, so
Yeah.
I will be in his presence tomorrow.
Well, it's funny because he has talked about a number of the foresters that work at the mill. And I said, I would love to sit and hear the perspective of foresters, because for all of the talk, and as an environmentalist, it's very important talk, but all the talk of preserving old growth forest, we didn't use steel, we didn't use concrete, we did a rebuild on our house with lumber. And I hope it came from somewhere close here as opposed to buying it from China. I say that because I was shocked when I bought I bought a piece of plywood a few years ago at Home Depot and came home and I went, it was made in China. It's like, God, that's just disgusting.
And there's likely to be big chunks of metal and
No doubt.
embedded in it. It really happens.
So it's the sort of thing that, well, how is it we balance the taking care of the issues of the forests that are overgrown or that are more prone to fire and It's a climate issue because it's changing rain patterns. But how do we keep a mill here that is producing something that's of value to the local people, it's a value to the consumers locally? That, and trying to get Henry to, he said they're concerned, they didn't want to sit, and I wouldn't want to either, and have a bunch of people say, you're bad because you're tearing down this and ruining that. And yet to find out, well, what is their perspective? Engage them into the conversation.
I think that the local mill has a real amicable relationship with the Forest Service. I speak with some knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think by the same token, we ought to look at what we import, what we export. I mean, there might be important products here that we need to learn. How do we stay on a good economic balance of what goes in, what comes out?
Yeah, I think people could see the benefit of supporting local versus supporting chains. I mean, I rail on it over and over about Amazon, but I've actually changed a few of my friends' positions as far as what they actually order online and what they don't anymore. Just because I'm always saying, look, there's all kinds of things you can actually get here, and try spending your money here first. And if you can't find it here, then fine, go online. But, anyway, you were going to say something.
Conversation's going.
You sure?
Well, there's a couple of things I might say.
Okay.
I'm not sure it's going to be productive.
Well, say it anyway.
So from the standpoint, I had a couple of things that I had put together. This was just the list of the different groups, just to suggest that there's a lot of different ways you can get engaged. And
we can invite Ann Velisis down from the Calamiopsis Audubon, and she could talk for hours about birds. And I mean, that talk you all did together was just amazing. She's a wonderful. And her husband, Tim Palmer, could come down and talk about rivers.
And the watershed group.
And the watershed group, Liesel and those guys.
Yeah. I was just thinking, when I was young, I did a conservation inventory for Missoula County, along with some people who worked at a land trust. And so we inventoried all the land in the county and talked about the values there, the wildlife values, the recreational values. At that time, they were trying to figure out what areas they wanted to preserve by encouraging owners to put their land in a land trust. I don't know, it just made me think of that just now.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because I spoke to a woman about a month ago, and her name's escaping me, and the name of her group is escaping me, but it had to do with agricultural land in Curry and Coos. And they've got some grant money, and they're partnered with the land trusts, I believe, and they're getting ready to try and put a study out and maybe make some difference in the areas when it comes to agricultural land. It would be, I'm sure she'd love to come and talk.
And those are carbon sinks, right? They're,
and then we could get Zoe from Valley, Florida to come down here and talk about how, their organic farm and what the flood in March did to them, because it destroyed all their crops. They had to replant everything. As just a way of saying, look, this is what the effects of this are, and this is what we did about it, and this is how we bounced back, and this is how we're going to be resilient, and you can help us by buying our veg or something like that.
Yeah, those rain storms that come, it seems like that's one of the impacts of climate on us. I mean, besides the drought and the fires, it's these atmospheric rivers.
well, that's why I was curious. Have we, sort of almost as a side, when Vicki and I got here, we bought an RV with the idea of traveling around, going to the south, going to the. We look at what's going on in the different places, and you go, well, let's be stuck in a heat dome. Let's get stuck in floods. Let's get stuck. It's like, hell, we don't want to leave, because here is this little oasis, if you will. And so the downside of that, of course, is that's when everybody goes, wait a minute, Brookings, that banana belt, it's not having all these. However, there are things, but what are they?
For here, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, atmospheric river is good. There for a while, I was getting a little cabin fever after living here for 7 years. But Then I look out and see all the green and the wonderfulness, and I think, I can take the,
Well, that's
much better than I can Sacramento Valley heat dome when it's 110.
Well, I was thinking about what it does to agricultural producers, you know,
Oh,
the negative impact.
gosh, yeah.
what are they? I mean, I'm
I don't know.
ignorant, but.
Well-
You mentioned that their crop was wiped out
Yeah,
from flooding.
yeah, they live along Flores Creek, and the bank of that creek is a good 10 foot. And the creek went up so far that it flooded the fields, and it was March, so it was, the spring plantings were in, and it pretty much destroyed it all, and they had to replant practically everything. So for 8 weeks, I got no veg from them at all.
Oh, isn't
I
that
don't
funny?
know.
The trickle down, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what they do with their CSA members. I imagine they didn't get anything either.
What's CSA?
Community supported agriculture. It's where you become a member of a farm and then you get a box of produce each
Oh,
week
yeah.
based on what they've grown.
Yeah.
Or sometimes there's multi-farms. I've done one of those. But anyway, and you know, the same flooding happened in Gold Beach at Hunter Creek Loop. I don't know if you saw the pictures, but the lumber yard, Gold Beach Lumber, was underwater. My Rumiano cheese distributor is in that little place, and they got affected.
Oh, wow.
They fortunately didn't lose product, but they were flooded, and
That's the sort of stuff that we need, the stories. That's the kind of stuff that's going to resonate locally. Now, the question is, well, weather has always been bad at times. I mean, I remember growing up as a kid in Illinois, and every winter, we got a special treat if it was below zero. Then my mom would drive us to the bus stop and we could sit in the car. If it was 1 degree, it's like, walk. And in the summer, I remember it was going to be at least 5 days working construction where it was going to be over 100. And so you pop those salt tablets. It's like, I'm not sure that was a good idea, but you know, it's.
Did those in the army too, not a good idea.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, I remember those, yeah.
Well, we don't
And
have
so- from the standpoint of what has happened, what are the stories we just had, can you just say, well, that's just weather? Or is it unusual? And that's when I get talked to the South Coast Fishermen's group, and they were saying, well, that blob that was in 2017 that was affected so many places, that was really out of character. And so the people had been fishing here for 20, 30, 40 years. And so when they can say, yeah, things have changed, that's the story you want.
I was thinking about that Tom Calvinez, too.
Yeah.
Who works out of Port Orford with the fishing industry, but he's also a scientist.
Yeah, I know him.
Yeah.
He would be a very good sort of person to talk about data and weather
Well, like,
history.
Speaking of conservative people, not that he's from Brookings, but Brett Webb up in Port Orford is basically a libertarian, but a fisherman as well. And he lands on the side of, climate more often than not, although he doesn't use that particular language, but he's a fisherman.
Yeah.
So he sees it and he doesn't pretend otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would talk, but there are people out there, and the fishing community would be a good place to look for someone who can speak, because they're almost all fairly conservative. They're like loggers, they're
Right.
fairly conservative, but they also have a real good handle on what's going on in nature.
You know,
And go ahead.
I was thinking about, there's a young woman named Katrina Thompson
Oh,
Upton,
yeah.
Oh,
who won the Oregon Humanities Award this year for storytelling. And I know she represents a group called Northwest Native
American Indian Coalition.
Yeah.
Great.
And I I guess we could talk to her about, do they have stories?
Definitely.
My brother, who's a geologist, often goes to talk to different tribes about geologic hazards of the past, and their oral histories match up so much with the tree core analysis that they do about and dating when things happened, earthquakes and landslides and so
Well, and
forth.
see, that's the kind of storytelling that then helps people to start to connect the dots.
Yes.
And see, okay, so if this was the norm according to the trees and Native American stories and everything else 300 years ago, and we can see how it's changed and gotten worse or whatever, then yeah, the correlation starts to click. And you're thinking, okay, well, maybe it's not just weather. Maybe there really is something. The latest story I heard was the the bugs, there's like 90% fewer insects.
Yeah.
And the story is told that if you remember as a kid driving on vacation and you're on the interstate.
That's right.
And your windshield's full of bugs, and now, nothing.
There's never bugs on my car when I'm washing.
Exactly, you know, and people will think, oh, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
I
Never.
remember.
Yeah, that's
I
it.
remember.
You know, we have
And then they
that.
start to
Talking
connect.
to anybody who's trying to grow food about pollinators, for example.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've seen the effects yet. I mean, I notice the change in the number of flowers buzzing around my house. But one of my friends was thinking about it more as, you know, a deficit of pollinators, not just, you know, more neutral observation.
Right.
I know there's insect people around too.
Whether any of those folks would both be able to convey stories, but also have data to say this really isn't just sort of a weird year compared to historical numbers. But I wouldn't know who would have numbers hyperlocal to Curry County to say.
Well, we have beekeepers here.
Right,
Yep, there's
beekeepers are perhaps one exception.
And Curry Knurls is fairly conservative. So are Babette and Russ Rose, for that matter. They're
Do you remember
also-
the couple that was at the community garden festival last year? They were from south. They were from Smith River or south of there.
Probably Russ and Babette. Did they
Yeah,
bring
Babette,
Yeah, they
yes.
brought a little thing with their honeybees.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Russ and Babette. That's our honeys. Is that what they call themselves now?
Their ads
Our
are.
honeys produce? No. I can't remember now. It's
and-
on Chetco Gold.
Dennis Triglia presented on the monarch butterflies, but he seemed to know a lot about science of other insects too. And he's a big fan
Yeah.
of this group.
Well, I know this isn't a crop, but talk about climate, the saguaro cactuses have been dying
Yeah.
from the oppressive heat like never before. Now,
Not because of lack of water, but because of heat. It's the hot weather that's killing them.
right, I mean, yeah, and
A few years ago, it was excess water. When they had too much rain in Southern California, the saguaros were soaking it up, getting too fat and falling over.
All right.
Yeah. So the whipsaw climate is killing them.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, the saguaros are like the symbol of the desert.
It's,
They're so
right.
hard to-
Southwest.
yeah.
And-
It takes
and-
hundreds of years for them to grow to be a few feet.
And there's been some really good literature out lately about and you would know about this because the mushrooms, all the underground stuff that connects the saguaro, is there's been a lot of science about that lately, how they communicate with each other,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, people will say, wait a minute, there's no mushrooms in the desert, but there is.
Yeah.
There's
That's to do with
mycelium
me,
in the
man.
desert.
Always know it.
Yeah.
Well, just the
Yeah.
mycelium's under the ground, and it's the living organism that connects everything else. And it's suffering because it can't handle the heat. It can handle drought because it evolved there. But
Yeah.
not that extreme.
120
and
degrees.
For
Yeah.
a lot longer than it should, and, yeah. And they're just now discovering that there's some of it, so anyway.
I just saw.
We're tasked with not politicizing climate change, but climate change has been politicized since the 1970s. And in
Yes.
2002, the heavily politicized Cheney Interior Department shut the water off to the river and sent it all to the farmers because they had been ginning up the war between the sports fishermen, the farmers, and the tribes, using the tribes as the scapegoats for the people who were causing all the problems. So whenever there was a question mark, the tribe got blamed and the other two got priority. And in 2002, there was a salmon die-off that basically threatened to kill the entire salmon population that was heading into the Klamath.
Yeah.
And that led to the tribes going into the political fight. It's all detailed in a movie called River of Renewal by Stephen Most. It's a brilliant movie. And the Karuk tribe, Craig Tucker and the Karuk tribe, figured out how to build the coalition between the sports fishermen, the farmers, and the tribes that went to the Warren Buffett convention and took it to them, to him personally, politically, and got the deal done that got the dams down. And today, one of the greatest successes in ecologically around the world is what's going on right here in the Klamath River.
Yeah, they saw the first salmon come in, right, just last week? Yes. And then all the youth paddled down from the top down to the ocean.
It's an incredible story.
Yeah.
And I think most of the world, it feels to me anyhow, as I look, like most of the world kind of gets this and understands the political nonsense machine that we have turned ourselves into on these issues.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm hoping that between them and enough of us just telling the stories, we can push through this period of time.
Yeah.
This period of time is threatening our ability to survive. I mean, human ability to survive.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we did the show and talked about the 6th major extinction and things like that on Sunday. Tom Bozak ran an AI
I saw that.
detail of how well we
To
did.
check how right we were.
We were right on. The AI
I didn't
said,
say anything that wasn't
you
true.
didn't say a thing that was, and they misunderstood you to say that windmills cause cancer.
I know, I saw
And
that.
that was the
Oh, was
only
it
way
Ray?
they
I said
mean
that.
it.
Oh,
You said that?
That was
Okay.
Ray.
Was
And
this-
he was being
He was
sarcastic.
being sarcastic.
Yeah.
But AI doesn't understand
And it's the
sarcasm.
only place we got dinged. And this is on the AI description of a legitimate climate change discussion.
So,
I think I
was there-
chimed in after Ray says, and maybe that's why I got through, but that's okay. If you look up sarcasm in the dictionary, it's Ray.
That's it, that's right.
Tom Bozak's our engineer, and he has, a couple of months now, been sending our shows to, who's Google AI or something like
Yeah,
that?
whatever he uses.
Either have them
he's a fan.
reviewed or in some way dealt with. A few weeks ago, he asked them to review the program as though it were a Edgar Allan Poe poem. It's incredible, unbelievable.
Was.
Oh,
Tom amuses me so much.
He's great.
So did a production come out of that you're talking about?
Well, it was,
Yeah.
you guys-
It was the show.
it was live.
It's on-
but I
it's on
assume they also
Facebook.
taped
It's on Facebook.
Yeah,
Well, that
Yeah,
was on
Curry
Facebook.
Cafe. this-
every show.
On Curry Cafe, okay,
Yeah.
so it was a Curry Cafe.
Yes. I want to say just something, Rook, I know we're running out of time, just one little tiny thing we were talking about. Kathleen, we talked about it, the Amazon. I get lazy too. For a while, I was clicking everything on Amazon, man. I didn't even realize it. Well, and this is just one little example, but so the other, I needed some dish towels. I thought, you know what, man, I'm gonna go to Fred Meyer's, struggle and go to the dish towels and buy them. And I did. I got home. I can't believe, we talked about those little stupid plastic little things they call
Oh, yes.
Gibbs, what do they call it? Whatever they call them. 3 dish towels, I couldn't even count how many I had to cut out of that thing. And then while I'm trying to cut, my point is this over-plasticization.
Overpackaged, yeah.
And I thought, it would be nice to get Fred Meyer or somebody say, hey, we like to buy this stuff here, but why do you have to? But they're probably made in China too. I didn't even notice.
yeah.
So then the next step, now that you've gone that far, the next step is to start getting your dish towels at South Coast Humane Society, where there is no plastic.
Good point, there you
And the only
go.
difference is they're used.
I don't care, see,
Exactly.
there you go, there's the answer.
And if you were poor,
Well, and I mean, not only
that's
that,
why.
no, well, I'm not rich, but that's
Yeah.
okay, good point. But they're not only packaged in that way, to try to cut those things
Yeah.
off. I cut part of the dish towel.
Yeah.
And then the dang thing, I cut it, it goes somewhere,
Yeah.
I can't find that thing, it's the size of an amoeba. Anyway, that's my, what,
No, I'm with
my
you.
thing that I hate. I don't know, it's like you said, Ray, it's almost impossible to stop, or it seems impossible.
It seems
Well, you
impossible.
can do everything you can do, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're getting off, we're actually going down a rabbit hole. But the trick just is to just do what you can with the lowest impact possible, and then when you have to, then at least you've made a minor,
Again, perfect example, I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that.
yeah.
I live on a road that has about a dozen houses on it, and we all put our garbage down at the bottom of the hill. And every now and then a bear decides it would like to see what's in the garbage, and that's when I find out what's in everybody's, because they don't just knock them over, they knock them
Right,
over
all
and drag them
over,
for
yep.
acres.
Points about things you think are important, things that you would be willing to do, talk to this person or check on that person. If you could help me by sending me an email that captures your thoughts, what you heard discussed, but more importantly, and especially the things that you feel you got out of the discussion. That would be a big help. And then I'm happy to try to pull that together. And then specific things like if we can get the city manager to come in a month and talk to us as a small group, as an interesting,
I'm in favor of that.
but how many people live in the city?
Oh, yeah, but the ideas are, there's ideas,
Yeah.
it's an idea
And
that
so-
can be adapted elsewhere.
Right. Now, one thing that I found a lot of the discussions when we were trying to put together our 50th anniversary for Earth Day, which got killed by COVID, we got about a dozen speakers and on short topics, little things, but that was enough to get Zoom meetings for the entire next year. And so it was people that were wanting to talk a little bit and so build on that. I think that we can, if you have ideas of topics, ideas of people, even if it's, well, we should think more about this or think more about that, and get that as an activity that people can come to, not feel like I'm going to get stuck in a group of 8 people and have to have a conversation. It's like, I'm not sure I can do that. Those of us that like talking, it's enjoyable. Anyway, I think that's a good balance if we could have some speakers that would talk for 15 or 20 minutes, something like that, and then have that as a jumping off point for thinking about actions. So, but I do need your help, because obviously I haven't taken any notes. Even if I was writing it down, I probably couldn't read them.
We have this recording by Michael.
And it's all being recorded.
Yeah. Would he make that available to us?
Yeah, that's the idea.
Okay.
Love that.
Well, I will put out one more idea right now, Bill. A somewhat challenging one, but somebody else to bring in from the outside, in addition to city manager, in addition to either recreational or professional fishing people, beekeepers, local growers who may be dealing with floods or drought. Brent Bischoff. If we're going to talk about costs of energy, and we're talking about, small scale solar, the CEO of Coos Curry Electric would be a very interesting person. Interesting because based on what he publishes on the last page of his stuff, he's like, well, sure, temperature seems like they're changing, but we don't have the evidence yet to say it's humans. Yeah, really? What evidence would you need? But he also has his periodic screeds about, we need reliable backup power, which decommissioning of the dams in the Columbia, unlike the Klamath, where it was a small-scale, private Warren Buffett-owned power company that was still making a few nickels from the century-old dams on the Klamath, Bischoff has been arguing strongly that we need the hydropower backup, and we can't go renewable because without having gas-fired turbines, without having some fossil fuel on-demand stuff. So he's definitely, I like Coos Curry in general as an institution because they have done a good job of increasing reliability. I like the co-op structure. There's a lot of things I think they do well.
Yeah.
But any talk here about energy bills that doesn't involve Coos Curry
Because I'll bet they
Is-
don't,
is
do
it-
they allow
is it- is
net
it-
net
is it
metering?
Is a non-starter?
Do they
Yeah.
allow net metering?
No,
Yeah.
and there
And
are
we've gotta
strongly,
change their mind
strongly
against-
arguing against
Yeah.
it in the sense that we all need to pay for the grid, is the argument from Coos Curry and most utilities and co-ops everywhere, is that
Right.
that we can't afford to have people, not buying electricity, but still depending on the grid. We need to charge them enough to maintain the grid. And so that's the argument why they killed some of the net meter in California, for example.
Right.
But he would be certainly a community leader, and he would be an important player in any local activity, like small-scale local solar.
Right.
Certainly would be an important player if we wanted to encourage people to put solar on their roofs. They make the same cost calculation you made, Bill, or that you made, saying, I can't take advantage of the incentives that existed because there were deductions and not
And not credits, yeah.
Right.
credits.
I don't make enough money to pay taxes in the first place.
Yeah,
So I can't get a tax credit,
So,
or rebate, or whatever the
Yeah.
hell it's called.
So he's looking for solutions too.
Well, and it's funny because Coosabury Electric does give rebates for things like heat pumps.
Right.
right.
So it's not like they're,
Yeah, we've gotten that.
it's all got to be, I think we got to approach Coosabury Electric from a financial standpoint and find a way, find a study that shows that net metering does not, in fact, decrease the income that a utility company gets. Because everybody's not going to be able, at least for the foreseeable future, to connect to the grid with, renewables. So there'll be people paying for it, and we're also growing.
Right.
And so how do you get enough energy, especially if they're not going to tear down Bonneville yet, but they were talking about it before the election, talking
Yeah.
about Bonneville was the next one to go.
Oh.
And that's where our power comes from.
And Trump won't get rid of the Bonneville Power
Oh, God,
Administration. He will just send the Doge boys in to destroy their ability to function.
Yeah.
Well, he started
Started that
firing
already.
people.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and that's, right.
Right.
At Bonneville?
But
Yeah.
Trump was not doing that because he likes the salmon.
No.
Trump was letting Elon Musk just run wild.
Right.
But none of those folks were doing what they were doing because
Yeah.
they were trying to, backdoor, be a little pro-environmental. Anyway, the point is, I don't know Brent at all. All I know of him is what I read in the back page of your magazine. He may be a reality-grounded, data-focused, we've got to keep the lights on kind of guy. My question about him being data-grounded I call that into question based on the sense we don't know it's humans causing climate change, but he might be someone to talk to and either discover that he really is sort of, an ideologue with no ability to be flexible, or somebody who is solutions-oriented that we could have an interesting conversation with.
It would be interesting to hear the conversation.
I don't know who that is, by chance.
No idea.
I'm not sure if he even lives in this county.
Yeah, I would have thought, anyway, is sitting in this room, having him give a talk to the Fishermen's Association, where I saw him put up his version of what offshore wind turbines would look like. And they were about, I don't know, from here to the other side of the parking lot, offshore. It were this, and then repeated this, then repeated this. It's like, that has no hint of reality. It is nothing even close.
He presented that?
He presented it here. And then, and one of our city manager, or one of the city councilors, put it on his city Facebook page. And that was what Brookings saw as what these things would look like. And he acknowledged, he did it himself, and then it's like, as a source of misinformation, that's a gold star. I mean, that was, anyway, that's just my one experience.
That's an answer to the question of whether it's
Yeah,
ideologue or
he
not.
just kind
Yeah.
of dropped in credibility in
Well, I
my,
wonder though if somebody from the board might be a little bit more amenable to listening, because if their board's like the library board, he works for the board.
Yeah.
And so the board's the ultimate.
well, we'll have to look at that board, who's on it. And
Yeah, they just had elections and Herzog's still on it.
There's the
That
one,
kind of-
Bernie Cockerham is not.
that kind of brings up with the little thing you had, agnotology. I
Yes,
mean, doesn't that sound just like what that is?
yeah.
Trying to-
Agnotology,
Oh,
did
yeah,
you
that's
see
that
that?
new word.
Yeah.
I heard that somewhere, saw that somewhere.
what's the new word? I haven't heard this.
Agnotology is how I pronounced it,
Yeah.
but like with this guy, to try to get the fake news, the real fake news out there for disinformation, misinformation. And I think, makes me think like people that will quote TikTok as fact.
Yeah, it's
That kind of-
basically to make people stupid.
Yeah.
That's
dumbing
the
down.
whole objective, make people, dumbing down, making people unable to recognize fact, make logical discussions, anything like that. So the conspiracies sound perfectly good, so. Yeah, I don't think I have the thing. There's another one, and I think I mentioned it to many of you. It's Gotterdamstung, something, it's a German word, but basically it's, if I understand it right, and I've got a sheet back there, but it's the rich and powerful will not give up power. They will rather destroy everything than giving up power, which is kind of what it seems like we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy
Watch the
crap.
news at night.
That's right. And so it's the people that are waiting for the rapture. Well, these people aren't waiting for the rapture, but they sure as hell are doing everything they can to make sure that, you know,
They don't get touched by any of the.
yeah. Which always is sort of interesting to me, in that well, who's going to protect your island? Who's going to bring you your food? Who's going to, when they say, I got this food, why should I give you, you rich bastard? Let's stay here, kill you guys, and we're doing good for a while.
The robot army coming and collect it.
Yeah. Anyway, I do need to be out of here in another 10 minutes, but if you could send me your thoughts, and.
You're saying
work with-
all of us, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
do you
Just-
feel like there's enough agreement that we should just bring Tim to the next
I
meeting?
say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sounds
All
good.
in favor?
Who's
Yep.
who's going to invite them?
Well, I'll do my part to try to ask Lori, Candace, and unless anybody else here knows.
Well, it would be,
They've talked to Tim Rundle, and I don't
Okay.
even really know.
Well, that's-
Candace, Lori would probably be the more diplomatic, but
I mean, we'll ask
Candace is
tomorrow
probably
to see which
pretty good.
course to take to ask him.
here's what I think. I think that Bill and I can, you just met Lori recently, right, at our house?
Lori?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I've known her for a
Lori and Tony.
Yeah.
Oh, you've known her.
I've known
You've
her for a long time.
Yeah. Why don't you and I talk about the context of this discussion and why we want to have Tim talk?
Yeah.
And then she can help us make
Oh, so
contact
you'll
with
talk to
him.
Lori?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So,
Okay,
good.
cool.
so I am
think you need
happy
some
to keep
context.
things going and things,
Yeah.
but I need all the help I can get. And the people that like to tell stories and make stories and pull things together, talk to people, that's what it's going to take. Not to, what was it, Hillary that said it takes a village.
Village,
That we're raising
To raise a
children,
child.
and she got chastised for that.
but She got chastised for everything.
everything.
So,
She told us so.
yeah,
She also identified that vast right-wing conspiracy.
yes.
Yes.
Got chastised for that, too.
Right.
She was a conspiracy theorist.
Except that it,
She was
just,
part of the pizza party.
The objection to conspiracy theories is there's plenty of conspiracies that are true.
that's right.
exactly-
Just look at what the Republicans have done over the last